Good morning. I think we're live. No, we're not live. Live video is starting. Live video is starting. Live video is starting. Oh boy. I'm early. I'm always early for a show. I used to be 15 minutes late for everything. What a coincidence, this whole 15 minutes thing. I used to be 15 minutes late for everything. And then a friend of mine who was fed up with waiting for me for 15 minutes said, "You know why you're 15 minutes late for everything? You're an optimist. You have a list of things you think you can take care of before you're supposed to be someplace. Take the last thing off the list." And I said, I'm not. And she said, "Would you just humor me and do it?" So I thought, okay, really? I don't think so. But I did take the last thing off the list. I was going to meet her for lunch, and I thought, you know what, I can just drop off my dry cleaning. And I thought, I'm going to prove her wrong. I'm going to just go there. And she was right. I was on time. How annoying. Not for her. She was delighted. And then the reason that I kind of got into it for shows is because I just want the audience to have the best time ever. I want them to feel that their decision to choose the show, coming and seeing, or doing and being, was the best choice. There were all these other things they could do today. This was the choice, and it was worth it. That's really what I'm going for. I'm going for, getting first prize. The other reason I'm excited today is, you know how on Facebook things pop up from your past feeds and you think, oh goodness, did I write that? Good heavens. Well, this post came up and I stared at it in a way that makes me laugh at myself, because I knew it was exactly spot on when I first saw it, which was why I shared it. But today, it's even more appropriate than it was a year ago. So I shared it. And I printed it and a couple of comments, and I'm going to read them in a minute when the others join us. Because basically this post explains all the reasons I do what I do. It explains all the reasons why I do and how I do it better than I could have come up with myself. So my hat is off to the lovely fellow who posted it, and I'm going to credit him when I read it out. I think the most important thing for me is to make sure that people know where I'm coming from. Not necessarily where I'm going, because that's still, up in the air. But to know where I'm coming from, to know the context that I'm speaking through. And I've talked about this. I've talked about the fact that we don't all come from the same place, and my definition is it hot in here is not the same definition as yours. And the more we can understand what I meant when I said what I said, the more we can actually connect, the more we can get it about each other, the more we can say, oh yeah, that's just Abby, she's always, that, or that's just John, he's always that. And so we forget that everybody doesn't see it the same way, because we only have these two eyes and we're only looking through them, and we look at other people's eyes, we just assume that they're seeing the same thing we're seeing. But they're not, because they're standing just a little over there. Even if they're right beside you, they come at it with a different filter, don't they? They know different things. They believe different things. And all of those layers impact how they react to what you say and do. So a lot of what I'm planning with Story Me TV is predicated on the way I do everything. And the way I do everything is so beautifully described in this post. I said to myself, why am I beating myself up about this? I could just read his thing and look like a genius. What a good idea. So that's what I'm going to start with as soon as we are ready with everyone. We have about a minute. The other thing I want to tell you, and again, hello, Fame, is that we're going to talk about that. I have a story that's wonderful, and it involves several of my really, really dear, sweet, wonderful, used to be fans, now they're friends. And the book launch of Fame. So that'll be a fun thing. That's the illustration of what I mean by this. Okay, so I think we're just about nearly almost there. Before it's actually 10:15. No, it's got to be 10:15 now. Is it? Does anybody have the time? Okay, I'm going to start. I hope they're with us. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all shapes and sizes, I am so excited about today's video. I'm so excited because somebody said something smarter than I did, and I wrote it down. And I'm going to read it to you because it'll save me a whole lot of time sounding dumb. And, you know, we all aim for that. So, without further ado, I'm going to read this. Now, it was first posted on the You Can't Do That on Television Facebook page a while back. I saw it because, of course, I go on that site. And I read it and I thought, goodness gracious, this is beyond perfect. It's exactly true. So if you'll bear with me, and by the way, this will be the first chance that I'm reading to you, and I'm going to be doing a lot of that, so we can consider this a rehearsal, right? Okay, so listen to this. The unique thing about You Can't Do That on Television, other than the obvious stuff that made it a hit, was that the sets were obviously sets, and it had the element of a show being made within the show. It made kids want to be on it and see all the inner workings, not just watch it. That element was a rare level of involvement to experience for a half-jaded generation of kids raised by their televisions. Every other show seemed to be there purely to sell merchandise or teach moral lessons that the kids already knew. You Can't Do That on Television was its own reward. So, two statements there. It made kids want to be in on it and see all the inner workings, not just watch it. That element was a rare level of involvement to experience for a half-jaded generation of kids. Okay. You Can't Do That was its own reward. Two of the comments on it, and there were quite a few, I never thought of it, but that's so true. It was the first time I was interested in television production. The actors, the actresses, the sets, the creation of the show. Another one. So true. Oh, how I dreamed of being on that show as a kid. The series gave kids a voice that wasn't found anywhere else on television. The stories reflected our own lives, and the players were all kids you wanted to either emulate or be friends with. That's pretty cool. Now, the lovely man who wrote this is Kyle Hite. And it was Joseph Maizano and Amos Bishop who I quoted in the comments. Now, the reason I read that yesterday and thought, Shazam, is because I do that. I do that all the time, with every show. I find a way to get my audience out of its seat through the keyhole to the other side where I am. I get everyone excited by being in on it, by being part of what makes the show the show. I've always done it, and I have an example, and I realize that without paying attention, that's what I am creating Story Me TV to be. These little 15-minute videos are my opportunity to help you get to know me. I mean, if you see my posts, that's one thing. If you roll your eyes and say, the woman was dropped on her head, I mean, clearly, that's okay. But it's not the same as actually seeing me. It's not the same as me trying to figure out the technology. This morning I was going to try and figure out where the button is that would allow me to see the comments, and I stopped. I said, well, of course you are, Abby, because here's what you can do. You can read a script, you can find the camera, you can click things when you need to, you can remember what the next thing was you were going to say, and you can read and respond to comments. Of course you can. Change your medication. So I didn't. I wanted to stay focused on this. So, the story I want to tell you is the book launch for Fame. I wrote this, as I've gone on and on about, for a couple of reasons. One was that I wanted to discuss the phenomenon of fame in a way that people could take away. I wanted to use my kids as my examples. I wanted to talk to them and find out what their opinions were and how they felt about it. The other thing I wanted to do, I don't know if I can do this without looking crazy, but there's a million fabulous pictures in it. Every single chapter has... I don't know how to hold a book. Okay. It has tons of pictures, tons of fabulous pictures. And so, every chapter, each one about one of my friends or kids, talks about fame from their point of view. All right. I wrote the book. I published the book. I found a place that I thought was perfect as the place to stage the book launch. And I invited everybody who was in the book, and I invited everybody else that I could possibly find. I went on all the sites where there were fans of the show, and I said, hey, look, I wrote a book. Look, this is the back cover. See all these people? I don't know if they're all going to come, but why don't you come to the book launch and find out? And this fabulous thing happened. Two lovely friends of mine came up from Illinois. One of them, Thomas, has come to almost every event that has been staged in Ottawa, Canada, to promote and talk about You Can't Fit on Television, and we've met several times. And two fellows came from New York, lovely, lovely men, and one fellow came from Ohio, and another came from New Mexico. They all crazily said, that's where we're going on our vacation. And they booked the time and they booked the flights, and I have no idea whether it's 6 or 46 flight changes that you have to take from New Mexico to get to Ottawa, but he did it. And then on top of that, I got contacted by a fellow who said that he was doing a documentary on the show and how our show, impacted the life trajectory of the Nickelodeon television network, because we were really the first big Shazam that they had in their roster of shows. And when they came to us and said, we would like to license you and broadcast you, and we said, sure, not realizing what that meant. And Nickelodeon said, huzzah, and ran off, and then sub-licensed us to the Armed Forces Network, and then all of a sudden, we invented Viral. We were everywhere. Now, this lovely guy from Texas, Scott Barber, did this documentary called The Orange Years, and he was studying the beginnings of Nickelodeon as a heart piece, his own independent project. He works in film. And he contacted me and said, hi, I'm coming up. I'm going to be in Toronto. I'm going to see Christine McGlade. And I understand you're doing a book launch, and I'd love to come. Can I bring my camera crew? And can we interview you? A documentary being shot during my book launch? Oh, I don't know. Let me think about it. 4, 3, 2. Yes! Come! Bring everybody. So we had a documentary being shot. We had several people from the show who came because they were in the book. We had all the normal people who come to a book launch because they want to know exactly how crazy it's going to be. And then we had all these fabulous people who came from the States because they wanted to be part of it. They wanted to be as up close in the fan experience as they possibly could. And they all decided they were going to come the day before, check into their hotels, so that they could be fresh and ready on the day of the book launch. The book launch was Sunday. So they came Saturday. And I said, well, if you're going to come Saturday, why don't we all get together for dinner? And that way we can get to know each other and chat about things. And then it's not all brand new, because I'm going to be a little busy on the Sunday. And oh, by the way, if you'd like to help set up, huzzah. And so they all said yes. So, to thank them, because how can you thank people who are going to turn their lives upside down for you like that? I called Christine. And I said, oh, hi, honey, it's Mom. I wonder if you would do a favor for me. I wonder if you would come the night before. She said, I'm already coming in. I'm coming to see my mom and my sister and stuff. And I said, oh, good. Well, would you join us for drinks and dinner? And she said, oh, Jenna, no, I've got to. And I said, here's why. And I said, I want you to surprise these guys. I want you to be, you know, the moment they never saw coming. I want it to be magic for them. And she said, oh, yeah, absolutely, count me in. So we set it all up. Carol Hay came. Carol, who coached all the kids. And Carol was kind of the lookout. And so my lovely men, who had all arrived, they all come into this kind of cozy pub, very informal, and we're all, oh my gosh, it's so great to meet you and see you and blah blah, and we're sitting and chatting. And I'd asked Christine to, you know, give us about 15-20 minutes, half an hour, so that they could relax and get comfortable and order their meals and whatnot. And that's what happened. So they're sitting and talking, and now we're all relaxed. We're having our drinks and we're eating our food and we're talking about this and that. And I had no idea. And exactly how many plane transfers did you make? Oh, I can't believe it. Oh my God, what's New York like these days? I used to love it there. And then I saw Christine coming in. But I started talking so that the guys were all looking at me. And so chatter, 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 the fellas are all looking at me. And as soon as she got close enough, I said, oh, hi, honey. What a lovely surprise. And so then, like clockwork, all the men turned to see who I was talking to. And when they all realized that standing before them for the first time was Christine McGlade, live, in the flesh, they all kind of entered suspended animation. One fellow had his drink, another one had his food. The rest are just unable to grok what has happened. Because what had happened was, I brought them through the keyhole. They weren't on the outside saying, oh my God, there's Christine. She's right here. And she said, is there room for me? And she winkled her way and sat in the middle. And it took them a half an hour to relax. And after that, we were all just friends. Now here's the important thing. The next day, when we arrived to do the event, and they were all there to help me set up, so we all arrived about 2.5 hours early. When we were outside, I said, it's already changed the way you feel about fame, having dinner with me and meeting Christine. I guarantee you that once you walk through that doorway today, it's never going to be the same. And one of the guys said, well, that's right, Abby, because we're going to be on the inside. And I said, no. Well, yes. You're going to be on the inside of fame with me. I was here earlier. More people know me. But you're never going to look at this experience the same way again. And as they helped us assemble the lockers, and oh my gosh, there's a dues-paying experience. And as they helped us move the furniture around, and as they helped us set up when the people came with the wine tasting and the cupcakes and the jewelry displays and all the other stuff, and the other celebrities arrived, they were on the inside with me, greeting them. When a photographer draped my feather boa on a lamp, took my picture, and then we both walked away, and the feather boa started to smolder. It was Thomas who saw it and pulled it off before we set the studio on fire. It was the two fellows from New York, Andy and Izzy, who sat on either end of the lockers to make sure that people who wanted to walk around behind wouldn't trip on the guy wires and break their nose when they fell, because the lockers are heavy and we don't want them to fall. Every single one of my guys, David from New Mexico, he was orchestrating and introducing people. Greg was doing amazing stuff, setting things up. and Thomas and Joe, it was just the most extraordinary thing. And then Scott Barber and his crew arrived, and all of a sudden, they're interviewing Kevin from the show, and Brenda, and Carol, and Christine, and turning around and interviewing me and interviewing other people. And then we had other special guests there. I'd invited some people who train service dogs, who work with veterans and first responders with PTSD. And they were there. And we raised some money for them. And they were all part of the handlers with the dogs, and the guests who came, who've known me as a civilian, and the fans, and then my travelers, and then my fellow actors. We were all together on the inside. We were all inside fame together. And that, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, humans of all ages, is what Story Me TV is going to be. You and I are going to make that channel together. We're going to create the shows. We're going to find the artwork, the creativity, the cameras, the angles, the writing, the actors. You name whatever it is it's going to take to make a show. And you and I are going to do it together on the inside. Is that brilliant or what? Oh my gosh, look at that. I did it right to time. It's 10:30. I want you to hold on to that thought. I'm going to talk about it more as time goes by. Meanwhile, I hear there's going to be some pretty scary weather this coming few days. Please be safe. Hug your loved ones. And I'll see you really soon on the inside.